where I came up with the term Vagina Coach, and my intention was to help pregnant women understand the pelvic floor. There are so many women who stop participating in life, who stop exercising, who stop socializing, who stop intimate relationships. Their life becomes very small with the intention of either protecting the pelvic floor or just being afraid or ashamed. We lose 10% of our bone mass in the first 5 years post-menopause.
If you've heard of the Longevity Bible Lifespan by Professor David Sinclair, you know that living well is more important than just living long. In fact, this show is dedicated to the science of beauty, wellness, and longevity. That's why I'm so thrilled to partner with Melrose Future Lab. Future Lab is Australia's first supplement range focused on extending not just your lifespan, but your health span. Available exclusively at Chemist Warehouse, these affordable and science-backed supplements are the key to aging well.
Where I came up with the term Vagina Coach, or the brand Vagina Coach, was probably about 8 years ago now. I was speaking to a group of women at a female entrepreneur conference, and all of the speakers were some sort of a business coach, marketing, strategy, finance, as you say. And then when I came up on stage, my talk was how optimizing your pelvic health can make you a better mompreneur. It was the Mompreneur Conference. When I first started this work, it was really with pregnant women and new moms. And my intention was to help pregnant women understand the pelvic floor and understand that we can train for birth and how we could prepare our bodies to birth more optimally, how we could then recover more favorably. And that was it. I just kind of then we're done and we'll move on. Some people are even told not to exercise. Don't jump if you have a prolapse. Don't twist. Don't do high intensity. Don't lift it over anything over 10 pounds. And then when we now, because I started focusing a lot on this perimenopause, post-menopause phase of life, we lose 10% of our bone mass in the first 5 years post-menopause. I think a big contributor to that is because women are not doing the things we need to do to build our bones because the pelvic floor is holding them back. Either they've been told to, or they're restricting themselves because they think it's going to make things worse.
What are some of the things that you categorically want our listeners to know is not normal?
Incontinence is a big one. And I would say that's the one that we accept more because we are maybe dismissed by care providers, because maybe we've heard from girlfriends or parents that, oh, that's just what happens after you have a baby. Maybe it's because we see on advertisements, especially on TV, especially if you're watching any shows that women are watching, they tell us that light bladder leakage, which is incontinence, they try to give it a lighter term. Light bladder leakage is just part of being a woman. And so we get messages from all over that's what happens. And even care providers will say, well, what do you expect when you're getting older? What do you expect after having 2-3 kids, and being dismissed? So that's a big one that I want people to understand, that it is very common, and it is kind of becoming increasingly common, especially in that perimenopause, post-menopause phase of life. And it can happen to young people, very fit people. So we think that this is a condition that only older people deal with. This can happen to anybody. And it's stress urinary incontinence, which is where there's some sort of exertion that leads to a little bit of leakage. That is very treatable with things like posture and breath, avoiding constipation, hydration, and exercise. Then we have urgency, you mentioned. So people who say, well, I don't leak, but all of a sudden I really have to go to the bathroom when I hear water running, or when I get home from the office, or whatever their trigger may be. That's so often a trained behavior. It can also be a low estrogen state. It can also be dehydration. It can also be tight muscles. Like, there's many contributing factors to everything we're talking about.
I have a great update to share from Melrose Future Lab. Hormonal health is a vital hallmark of aging and longevity. And whether you're navigating perimenopause or menopause, Melrose Future Lab's new ultra-complex supplements are here to support you. Backed by clinical research and using advanced technology for effective absorption, these formulations are designed to provide relief through every phase. Find them exclusively at Chemist Warehouse. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
So many people are constipated, and women especially. And again, women in that perimenopause transition where we have this hormonal upheaval happening. There's a lot of autoimmunity that's happening. A lot of thyroid conditions show up around that time. A lot of women are constipated, and they say, well, I haven't changed anything, but we haven't recognized all that's changing in us. So we actually do have to change things. And sometimes it's because they have been leaking for whatever reason. So now they're not drinking enough water because they think, well, if I don't drink water, then I won't leak or I won't have the urges. So now they're not hydrated to poop well. So now they're constipated. And now the constipation is also making them feel like they need to go to the bathroom more often. And they're straining to get their poop out, which is bad for the pelvic floor. So hydration and constipation are always the top. Those are the two things that have to be addressed first. Like I could give you all the exercise.
And they would be
in the
quick
world.
wins, right?
Yeah. Huge quick wins. But no magic exercise is going to come in and replace the fact that you're straining to poop and you're not hydrated enough.
Can you explain those concepts and how relaxing the pelvic floor fit into your Buff Muff method?
It's always where we start. And I know from my pelvic floor physical therapist colleagues, I don't do any internal evaluation. So I'm always referring out to the pelvic floor physical therapist to do the internal evaluation. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say the majority of their patient population is coming in with tight pelvic floors. And so we want to say, why are pelvic floors tight? And it could be, as I mentioned, from guarding. So people who are afraid of leaking, people who think they have organs shifting and they're going to fall out, they will unconsciously clench. Posture, if we sit a lot, especially with a tucked pelvis, if we stand with a tucked pelvis, the footwear that we have, tight hamstrings and calves, scar tissue, like so many things can contribute to tightness. So we want to understand what is contributing. Why are you tight? And working with somebody in person can be a way to do that. Then we want to say, well, we need to release that tension first. Then we want to take the muscle through its range of motion to have it remember that this is max contraction, this is relaxation. So it understands the whole excursion that it can go through rather than thinking that this is the only place that it can be in that sort of shortened, tightened state. So understanding what the contributing factors are as to why we have tightness, and then working to shift that, working on scar tissue mobilization, change our footwear, lengthen tight muscles, improve our posture and alignment, and do release work. And that can be with our breath. It can be with certain stretches. It can be with certain things like I use yoga tune-up balls or tennis balls. I use like foam rollers. I use rolled up towels. I use all sorts of things to help us. It can give feedback, but it can also be a way to help us understand the need to melt those muscles. And then when we have lengthened a muscle, when it's at its optimal resting length, it now has its full range of motion to develop power. Statistically, for anal incontinence, I've seen stats anywhere between 4 to upwards of 10+% of people mainly people who've given birth. But I've kind of seen it all over the map. With prolapse, generally 50% of women who've given birth will have some degree of prolapse. But that doesn't mean that people who have not been pregnant at any point or given birth at any point in their life will never get prolapse. So it can happen, both of them can happen to anybody. Pregnancy and childbirth are definitely something that will increase your risk. But the principles of how we overcome those really are the same. So there's no specific set of magic exercises for urge incontinence, and then another set of exercises for stress, and then another set of exercises for anal incontinence, and another set for prolapse. Really the fundamentals of alignment, your posture and what alignment you have, your breath work, coordinating it into movement is all the same. We might change cueing slightly differently so we can activate more, like instead of the front part of the pelvic floor, we're activating more of the back. But really we want a global response in the pelvic floor. And some of it, again, we want to understand what are the contributing factors. Is it chronic constipation? And if we're not addressing the constipation, then again, all the exercise in the world is really not going to be doing.
You're listening to the highlights edit of a longer episode. If you enjoyed this clip, be sure to download and listen to the full episode.